welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be transforming a free wooden tabletop that I picked up from Facebook Marketplace into a beautiful designer-esque coffee table. It's just a tabletop, so we are going to be needing to build a base for it, and I wanted to do a fluted design on one side and then flat on the other. I will pop up an image right here so you can see kind of what I'm envisioning in my head. And if you didn't know, we live in Boston, Massachusetts in a 500 square foot apartment. So we do not have a lot of space, and that poses a lot of challenges. So I will be doing most of this project on our backyard, our back porch. So if there's any lighting or sound issues, don't blame me, blame my neighbors. All right, let's see what we can do. So I got sort of lucky when I picked up this tabletop from Facebook Marketplace because the lady that I picked it up from had previously sanded it down already. She had different plans for it, and she just said she can get around to it, so I didn't have to do much sanding. As you can see, there's some dark stains still around the edges. So I basically just took a medium grit sandpaper and I just sanded off the stain that was still left on the tabletop. And then after that, I took a fine grit sandpaper and I went over the whole tabletop to make sure everything was smooth. I picked up these round pieces of wood from Lowe's, and my thought to make the sphere for the legs is to just cut it in half and then you have two pieces. It makes sense in my head, so let's see if this is gonna work. So this is when I used all of my math skills that I learned in high school that people said you're not going to need to do ever in your life, but it turns out you're going to have to actually use it. No, just kidding. I actually just found the middle of the circle and then I cut it right down the middle. I don't think these were perfect, but it really didn't make a difference in the long run, so. So I bought this project panel at the hardware store. You can buy them in all different sizes, and I just cut them down to the size that I need for the legs of the coffee table, which is 16 inches, and I cut both pieces at the same size. And clearly here I was too lazy to go find a ruler or anything that is straight, so I used what I had just cut, which probably wasn't the straightest thing to use, but it's okay. Everything turned out fine. So I just cut down the project board, and in order to get it to stand up like this, I'm going to be drilling pocket holes in here, and then they'll go right into the table. That way we can have it standing upright. If you don't have a pocket hole jig, the other option for this is to use L brackets. They would just sit flush with the counter and with the base. And you could use like 2 or 3 L brackets, which you could buy at your local hardware store. Okay, so for this project, we're gonna be using this pocket hole jig. It's from Craig. It is one of the more simple pocket hole jigs. So basically, for this pocket hole jig, if you've never used one before, you always wanna measure the wood before you start drilling. So this is the little measuring thing. And what you do with this is, take the piece of wood that you're going to be using and you measure it. So if you can see that there, that's the width of the wood, and it ends right at 3/4. So that's what we're going to want to set up the pocket hole jig to. So let me show you how to do that. Take this thingy-majiggy and you're going to change it. You see where it says 1.5. You're going to change it to where it says 3/4. And that's where the wood is gonna stop. It's gonna stop right there, and that's how we know how the drill bit's not gonna go too deep in the wood. And then for the drill bit itself, if you see here, it's already set up for this. So you wanna move that little metal round piece to the size that you're gonna be using. So this is what this tool is also for. You loosen it and then you move it. I'm gonna put it back on 3/4 because that's what we need for this project. That way you can ensure that the drill bit won't go too deep in the wood, because you don't want that. Believe me, I've done it plenty of times. Okay, so let's drill these pocket holes. You're gonna wanna clamp this down. Once we're clamped down, it's gonna be pretty simple. You just wanna watch your fingies. It's a beautiful pocket hole. And then I use those math skills once again just to find the center of the coffee table to make sure when I drill in the base, it's in the center, obviously. And once I found the middle of the coffee table, I used the pocket hole screws to screw it down into the bottom of the coffee table. You want to make sure that you're using the pocket hole screws that are specific for pocket holes because they have a certain washer at the end that won't allow the screw to go all the way through the wood, which is very important. Believe me, I've tried it. And using that same method, I attached the half round piece into the bottom of the coffee table. These will be used to make that half sphere fluted leg like in the inspo picture. If it's not making any sense, I promise it will come together very shortly. And then I just repeated the same exact process on the other side to make the other leg for the table. So I decided to go with bamboo floor mat instead of buying pole wrap because it is a little bit less expensive. If you could see, there's a little bit of shine to here, so I did have to sand it down at some point. But I first started by cutting it down to size. I used my circular saw for this. If you don't have a circular saw, you can also use a chisel for this because the wood is fairly soft. And to cut it the long way, I just use a regular pocket knife, but be very careful, this looks crazy. And then I brought the table inside, I flipped it over, and then I attached the spheres using the pocket holes the same way we did on the other ones onto the bottom side of the leg this time. This bamboo mat comes with a seal over it, so it's a little bit shiny, and I wanted to be able to stain it, so I took some time and I made sure to sand off all of the clear coat top. This did take a little bit of effort, and I don't know why I did this by hand. Looking back, I think I would have just used my hand sander. I think it would have been a lot easier and more time efficient, but hindsight's 20/20, isn't it? Once it was all sanded down, I lined it up to the coffee table leg, and I used my nail gun to shoot some nails into it. You could just use a regular nail and hammer if you didn't have a nail gun. It works the same way, promise. I probably overdo it with the nails, but I really just like playing with my nail gun, I think. Now, this is when the wooden spheres are going to make sense. I took the bamboo mat, I wrapped it around the wooden spheres, and I used my nail gun to nail it in place. You'll see as I continue wrapping it how it makes that half sphere shape like we wanted from the inspo picture. Once the base of the table was complete, I made sure everything was sanded down, and then I used the stain Early American by Varathane to stain the whole thing. I ended up using 2 coats to give it a darker look, and to apply the clear polyacrylic, I used a foam roller, and in between each coat, I just sanded with a 350 grit sandpaper to ensure that the finish was really smooth at the end.
I wish you were here.